your future in the U.S. Army. It's like a junk habit, it creeps in your soul, till the gleam in your mind goes as black as the coal. It's corrupt as a prison and cruel as a gun. The dangers are many and the pleasures are none. Oh, where the laughter is bitter and the song's never free. Oh, it's just like a jelly, the U.S. Army. They'll tell you enlist, say it's better than the draft. We'll teach you a trade, but killing is their craft. The sergeants will taunt you, the officers smile. The human kindness will leave you after a while. It's corrupt as a prison and cruel as a gun. The dangers are many and the pleasures are none. Where the laughter is bitter and the song's never free. Oh, it's just like a jelly, the U.S. Army. And you become cynic, then you be like them, and never remember that folks can be friends. You'll end up all here, their train will win. Oh, well, it's better, far better, never to begin. It's corrupt as a prison and cruel as a gun. The dangers are many and the pleasures are none. Where the laughter is bitter and the song's never free. Oh, it's just like a jelly, the U.S. Army. Sometimes the honor and sometimes the house. Fighting for the country and fighting to be free. Nothing is bad, no bourgeoisie, nothing is guaranteed. My life's on its way, it's stable, I'm free. I will fight for the action, time and machine. We got about the audience tonight. The United States government thinks you are just having sex with someone you love. I was in the bathroom before. There's two kinds of condoms. One kind and the other kind. I asked my friend sit over there what the other kind was for. It had something to do with your canals. Well, let's set the Wayback Machine for the Dark Ages. America's known as the Reagan years. And before we start this next song, I want to see how much math you know around here. I'm going to give you one side of the equation, and I will you give us the other side. You ready? Silence equals... Oh, come on. Silence equals... Give me a hint. Silence equals... Wait a second. You're definitely dead out there. Well, let's tell the story anyway. Raise your glasses. Back at a time of rage and glare, a strong and brutal line. Perceptions box a clinking sound. They knew not how it came around. She I care a lot that everything good in Holland rhymes, you know? My favorite meal is spa and fla. I'm gonna miss that flow. Your Am I allowed to come back up? Alright, we do it one more time. You ready? Hit that note.
What you drinking? What kind of beer? What's this beer called? What's it called?
Hydrogen! Fuck that shit! Apple ribbon!
Stefan, you play,
I'm a singer.
you're the singer. And Debbie,
Deborah on guitar.
the guitar, from False Prophets. Who are in fact the other members of False Prophets?
We have a 6-person flying circus that goes with 2 guitar players being Deborah and Steven, a violin player / keyboardist, which is Heather. The bass and drums rhythm section is Ben on drums and Anthony on bass. And I don't do anything special, so I get to sing.
So you're definitely not one of those 4 pieces new straight edge bands from New York or something.
No.
Not even close.
You write the lyrics.
Yes.
So about that first album of you, which is quite beautiful, but so many songs about religion on it.
So
How
many
come?
songs about
Are you talking about the
religion.
Explosion album?
No, he's talking
Oh,
about
from-
first
I
album.
wasn't sure.
Wow, you'd say this song. How would you say there's so many songs about religion? 7 Deadly Sins. Maybe remember so many songs about religion. I think right off the bat, 7 Deadly Sins. Yes, that's very anti-organized religion. It's basically I had to go through I had to go through almost a dozen years of Catholic school. You know what Catholic school is? It's like read penitentiary education here, where the nuns yelled at you and they would, they'd slap you. I'm a left-handed person, so of course I have the hand of Satan, yes. And so basically, I think some of the some of the biggest nuts they have are really mental defectives they're walking around now, are products of the Catholic school or parochial school education centers. They really know how to turn them out right. But it's just about, it's sort of, I was for prophecies, false prophets, was sort of pre-warning people about all this evangelistic nonsense that's going on, all the Falwells and Bakers and all their stuff. It was like even before that was really coming down, I was trying to say that these people are taking money under the name of God. And I mean, how many wars have been started by the name of God? All of them, you know?
I thought you weren't going to eat it.
Holy war is big business.
It is.
But faith, the song Faith, is not really a religious song. It's saying that faith is not a word that someone has to sell to you, that someone has to rent to you if you're a good boy and you spend, or girl, and spend most of your time on your knees. Faith is something that's intrinsically ours to begin with, that we possess from the very start. And I think we should reclaim it. Like they say to a lot of people, you must reclaim your life. You should just reclaim it for yourself, you know?
Yeah. I think the problem is that with the album there wasn't a lyric sheet. So we just had to listen, and our English is not so perfect as we hope it would be.
The album sounded like the Spanish Inquisition, right?
Well, you heard so many times the word God and you think the song is about religion. Do you consider yourself as a political band?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, every
But I
day.
think that we try to broaden the definition of political in that we don't simply rant about causes, although we do a lot of ranting about causes. We talk a lot about what I suppose could be called personal politics, or like the song Faith isn't a political song, but yet it says, don't act like a lemming, don't follow your leader into the sea. It's the same. It's the kind of basic attitude you have to have in order to be political. So, but I say, yeah, I wouldn't want to be in a band that wasn't.
And all our politics are not absolutes. They're just stepping points in our life. Like we keep trying to grow, evolve with our politics. And I think that's what you have to see, that even the mistakes that we made on vinyl years ago, we try to come back and make a more well-defined, more grown-up inside statement about things. False prophets, that cuts either way. It means to question us, but at the same time, what we could be saying is true. But at all times, don't let us get away with it.
Now, this is a question from Rob. Do you think it's possible at all to result in any social political implications, oh God, by writing lyrics or playing songs? What does it mean?
I don't think just by listening to a song we're going to make any great changes in the world. But the world can start with one person. The change that could come. And if we can get one person to maybe come away thinking a little bit different, or come away inspired enough to even just start thinking, period, then that change could start from there.
Yeah, I think that a show is the goal of a show is to inspire people, and also for people who need some inspiration to go out and do something or get involved. It can be inspiring for people who already are committed, know what they want. It can be kind of a ritual of affirmation of what they want, what they want to do.
We don't want to be the leaders. We just want to help people onto the path. We feel the path is wide enough for all of us to walk side by side. We don't need to have to be up ahead. And all the people that are dragging behind, we want to tell them, come on. And if the path isn't wide enough, well, then we got to stop, get out the shovels, and make it wide for everyone.
I read somewhere that False Prophet said they still believe in punk. I don't know if you said it or somebody else said that. What does being punk means to you, or still means to you?
Wow.
Or do you consider yourself as being a punk band or something?
Take it.
Yeah, I think so. I think punk is something that is not out to please necessarily. And it's not that you're out to displease, but you're not writing music, or you're not performing music with a set of record executives, radio people, video people standing on the outside of your mind, constantly giving you ideas, saying this, oh, you should cut this idea short, you shouldn't do that. I don't care what kind of music it is. If you're willing to take it to whatever level you personally want to, then I think that's a punk attitude. It's an attitude of disregard for the business of music when you're writing music and when you're performing it. You have to deal with the music business all the time. But to me, that's the first thing for punk attitude, and that's something I hope we never lose.
And it's like punk is just one big leather jacket, man. You just keep wearing it and wearing it and wearing it. You collect all kinds of stuff along the way. Friends, ideas, ideas on buttons. I mean, it's just the whole thing. It's like after a while, a really well-worn punk looks like a junk shop,
And there's also
a flea market.
you can't say punk without saying independence, and it's something that every band has to struggle with. Is what independence means to you.
Rebel with a cause.
There's some bands that to them independence means playing, shows where they don't really get paid much or stuff like that, or that they only play squats, or they have very strict guidelines for themselves. We've made a decision to try to make a living as a band because we live in New York and we're finding it impossible to do otherwise. It's just too expensive. We're losing our minds, But that doesn't mean we can't be very careful about our decisions as to who we'll work with and who will sign in and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm warning you people, when I'm 50, 60, I'm going to be a punk.
3 years old is Michael Boyd? He's going to kill me.
How old is Michael Broad anyway?
We don't.
22. He just pretends he's old.
I don't know. We're talking about his age, not about kid.
I love Michael.
We love Michael.
Everybody does.
Pray.
About that record business, is signing to labels like Hawker, in fact, Combat Core, Caroline, considered as an alternative in the United States?
They're considered alternative labels, you mean?
Yeah.
They're considered the easy way out as far as I'm concerned. You know what it is? I thought, when I heard the word hardcore, I thought it meant punk with a difference that you cared. It wasn't so more, fuck this and fuck that. It had more of an idea of like, I'm going to think about who the enemy is before I strike out. And those things are sort of like, wasn't punk supposed to be like coming away from heavy metal? Well, it's like a circle that came right back. It's like something that crawled up its own ass. And I think that a lot of those labels are just offering the same old creepy American big cars, big guns and big dicks mentality, and a whole new kind of you're rebelling, kids. Don't worry, you're rebelling. These are the same kids that say they hate cops, yet they act like cops towards others. And those labels just push the same old crap. They push Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and missile deployment, up your ass in every place they go. And I really despise them.
Well, at the same time, we should be honest here and say that we're searching for a label right now, and it's going to be tough to find because we've looked into countless of them, and there aren't any independent labels in the States that are truly independent that would really fit you're the punk rock requirement of independence, but yet we have to sign with the label. So what we're doing is we're trying to talk to a variety of them, trying to get a handle on like who we think we feel best with. And, it's going to be sad to leave Alternative Tentacles, but
We'll take just a plain out business label over taking something that's sort of pushing hate. Do you know what I mean? I mean, don't be surprised. We might go with a major. A might. It's a very thin might, but it's a might over having to go with, juggler blood rock records or something like that, because, they won't know what to do with us, and we don't preach hate.
Mm-hmm. About Alternative Tentacles, why do you quit with them?
Why did we split with them?
well, it's hard. It's hard. A couple of different reasons. One, we had trouble with the way the label was being run. There was a lot of nice people and a lot of people we felt really good about, but we would run into like real problems of inefficiency or confusion, miscommunication. And now they've gotten rid of a lot of people and they've got some new people in there with who we understand are better, but we've already made our decision. Secondly, our last record, the Implosion LP, didn't meet with a huge happy response at Alternative Tentacles. I mean, I think some people really liked it. Other people on the label were a little put off by the fact that we used so many guest artists and we really did a heavy production job. And we did what we wanted to do, which was like a snapshot of New York City and of our friends, which meant using a lot of them on the record, doing a lot of crazy stuff. But it just was a common feeling that we weren't going in the same direction as the AT bands that they wanted us to. Also, Biafra and Stefan have a very special friendship, and it was being very strained by difficulties over
Friendship
business.
and business don't mix.
And we didn't want to harm that any further, and it'd be just easier to get another label. We want more distribution. We want a little more support tour-wise and promotion-wise, and that's why we're leaving.
And all the hardships that we have to go through in New York City and all the expenses and stuff. A lot of times we would just have these mess-ups. We'd have these mess-ups where tours got screwed up or where we needed more money than they could understand and all these other things, man. And being so far away from them, being 3,000 miles, put that in kilometers for the thing,
Yeah.
Being that many miles away, we couldn't have that eye-to-eye contact that you really need to make a good decision.
Yeah, it would be nice to find someone with an office in New York. We've been really trying to talk to labels that have at least some kind of office in New York.
I plan on being Biafra's friend for a lot longer than being an artist on his label. I appreciate that a lot more.
Just for the record, a lot of people here in Europe still think that Alternative Tentacles are just the guys of Dead Kennedys. But it isn't in fact so, I think.
Well, I think people we've been hearing everybody rave about No Means No, and the Beatniks, I think, have made a bit of impression. Is that true? Or?
Yeah, but the people of the label who do the record
Biafra's
stuff.
the only person that has something to do with Alternative Tentacles.
Oh, you mean people that work for Alternative
Yeah,
Tentacles?
I think a lot of people still were thinking that just the four guys who were into Dead Kennedys were doing the whole thing with the label and so.
Oh, you mean, well, no. It's really just Biafra and then people that he's hired to work for him and stuff.
Biafra started Alternative Tentacles as an extension of his fandom. He loves other bands. When he can get more excited about another band. You think after all this time traveling around,
he's a genuine fan.
collector, the whole thing. So he had no way of telling him. All he did say is, "I think you're a great band," and then he had nothing to do with them. I'll let you play with the Kennedys. He had to go one step farther. He took his fandom. We were scooping around New York going, "Oh, we're going to put a record out." And his love of False Prophets, his absolute "Hey, I don't know why you guys are more popular" kind of thing, said, "Yeah, we'll do a deal. Yeah, let's get your record out, man. I have to help this music survive."
What Biafra needs to do now, which I think he's working on, is just put the people in place working at the label who can make that follow through for his band.
Match his love for music, match his zealousness.
With love for willingness to get out there and promote the bands and get them on the road and keep things moving for them.
Now something about New York City.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
It's from Brooklyn.
Read it. Like when we're reading in Maximum Rock and Roll, it's sometimes like New York City is 7 different scenes.
Yeah.
Is it really
No,
so split up, or
17 different
they're even more split up than
more
meetings?
schisms. We call it schism, buddy.
SCHISM. One thing, when you're talking about New York, it's not like any other place in the world because it is defined by the incredibly expensive rents and the lack of apartments and the way people have to struggle. People don't have time to get a thing going. If you're in a band, you also have to work full time. There's no dole. It's very hard to get unemployment or welfare, and it just makes people crazy. Because if you want to succeed in anything, I used to come home from work, if I was probably come home from doing temp work or whatever, at like 5 at night, and spend from like 5 to 8 on the phone doing management stuff. And then maybe I could eat, and then I had to get back on the phone to call clubs every night because, you have to work full time, and I still wasn't making my rent. And when you have that kind of pressure on people, people get bitchy, and they fight with each other, and they split off into little factions, and it's just not conducive. And also, the other thing that defines New York is that people there are spoiled by the fact that clubs like CBGB's are there, will be there, have always been there. There's never been a need to set up shows, to get together, to put a show together. It's all there, so people can be as fragmented as they want to be. And they just really go for it.
New York is like
People are
big
nasty.
roach motel. It's the hardest motel to check in, but you never can check out because once you've got a taste of all that, we are piled up inside there, man. You ever open up one of those things? Those little roach. Oh, you don't know what a roach is, man? Shh. You gotta go to New York just to check. It's the only wildlife we have, actually. Besides that,
Bug.
cockroach, yeah. And anyway, what you also have is you have a whole bunch of bands squashed so hard together, fighting all for the same gigs, that a lot of bands will go and adopt the style that's the most commercial or the most easier to get gigs. That's why New York is so chock full of metal thrash bands now, or it's chock full of funny punk bands or something like that, because it's the cheapest way or easiest way to get a gig. It's very tough being true to your own visions, because most people will not have enough time or spend enough time catching on to those things.
I mean, to give you an example, like we headline weekend nights at CBGB's, and we do very well when we do. But we are lucky if we play CBGB's like once every 3 months, even though we're like really liked by them and we pack the place, because there's so many other bands. We have that kind of thing going on where people start to get at each other's throats. And that's part of it. And there's also a real strong, the kind of street tough thing is like got its roots in New York, and then a lot of bands get involved with that, and they become sort of gang-like, and there's a whole, it's just a tough city.
Yeah.
It's people crazy.
What do you think of that straight edge scene in New York? I think a lot of what we see here,
I call it
we think that's New York got a very big straight edge scene.
Repackaged fascism. It's like out-and-out fascism got to be no vogue anymore. So now we repackage it. It's it's like Boy Scout fascism.
Yeah.
Brush your teeth, rewind your videotapes, don't drink, motherfucker. And it's all this kind of like telling kids what to do. It's all about peer pressure. And it's so hard to be a teenager, man. I should know because I'm still trying to be one. And the thing is like you think that kids, it's like beating down the individual. It's like every time somebody wants to raise their voice with their own sound and their own song in their head, their different drummer in their heart, they're beaten down by saying, "You're unity for everyone, except those who don't look like us." But on the positive side, I'll have to say, any group of people that are putting out be a little kinder to your body, like don't take as many drugs, give yourself a break. There's plenty of times to fuck up in life. Don't start early getting screwed up in the head with drugs.
I mean, like
that's not bad.
Like there's some, you would also consider like Fugazi, a straight edge band. I mean, people like Fugazi, I think it's great. They're like a terrific kind of straight edge band because they're not judgmental. We just oppose any kind of judgmentalism and intolerance, basically.
Yeah.
You know what you get when you get two straight edge kids to put them together? A scrotum.
Like, I think a lot of people here in Europe were shocked by the youth of today too, because they were really, they had nothing to say except that straight edge thing, where they're preaching about. They don't say one word political or so. Is that the point with most straight edge bands? We had Fugazi here, and they didn't say one word about being straight edge or so. That was quite the opposite. And we asked them about
Those who say it the least do it the most.
Well, maybe. It's a trend. It's just a really popular trend with the really young kids in New York. It's like any trend. A lot of people and bands and stuff are like jumping on it and really pushing it into the hills. And some of them are good and some of them are bad. I mean, I just Steph and I both find it a little bit much, but and again, we're not 15, and a lot of
We don't need
really
followings. We don't need followings who reverently act on everything we say and blah 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 blah. We want people. We want friends or support that thinks and that keeps us honest with ourselves. The people who will come up and ask a question, offer friendship, as opposed to just genuflecting and going, "You're God, man."
Yeah.
I'd follow you off a fucking cliff or off a bridge.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is too easy. That in a way that is, el duce rock and roll or without hurting anybody. They're not hurting anybody. I'll give them all the credit in the world.
It's really like you were in Europe like when Youth of the Day was here, because it was really like that. Like young kids really were thinking about God coming to Earth. There was one couple who was going to 23 shows of
I would
Youth
be
of the
very
Day all through
frightened.
Europe.
I was that guy, and I don't know him. If I was that guy, I'd be frightened because that's an awfully high pedestal to fall off of.
They liked it, and that was a bit what makes me
I hope
scared.
they never fall and have to hurt themselves.
They're still young.
Oh, that's interesting.
Shit. With the background now, noises out there. Your bass player told me you got a video on MTV.
Yeah, we got to put what we wanted on MTV. There's two philosophies. You can either take a road that avoids the beast. I can't think. You can either take the road that avoids... Guys, yeah.
What was the question?
The question was, you got a video on MTV. Well, for us it's a bit strange, because for us MTV is a big commercial thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will start yelling, selling out, selling out, selling out.
Yell all they want. That's ridiculous.
Well, there's two philosophies you can adopt. You can keep running down alleyways and roads, avoiding the beast, or you can get right up inside of it and fight it from the inside. And no one on that channel told us what we could or what we could not do. They accepted the video as it was, with all our intentions about it's a video. Yeah, it might be. It's a video that correlates the bubonic plague of the Dark Ages, which is during when Reagan was in office. No, with the plague that's going on today against the so-called government-indicated sex criminals, And I think it took me a long time to come to this feeling, and I still have a lot of things I don't like about it, but we were on this special show in which they were trying to take chances. And I guess what I'm going to do is we have to accept the fact that we're going to be reaching 15 or more million people now, and our message is there completely intact, not diluted or sold out or anything like that.
I mean, basically, we had this woman who's a friend of our other guitar player, Steve, who's a film student and wanted to make a video of that song. She chose that one. And we made the video, and, we gave it to whoever we thought would want it, and this guy from MTV had expressed interest in it. And so that's one of the places that it went. And after the video, Mojo Nixon was one of the VJs, video disc jockeys, and he went into this whole spiel about AIDS and how it's terrible that the government's not spending more money on it and it should be spending less on defense and more on AIDS. So, there was a statement made. I think that's good. And there's nothing, we had, if you listen to what's on the Strong Stereotype album, we say, there ain't no fucking cure, and then on the video it says there ain't no cure. That wasn't specifically for MTV. Fact is, you can't have a video played on TV anywhere that says fuck. So it had to come out if you're going to make a video, and this woman was going to make a video for us for free, so we did it, And
This whole
that's
thing
it.
is selling out. It's really a whole discussion. First of all, I've never heard anybody define it, but if I understand correctly, it's that you shut up or you alter your views or something for money. Basically, like we operate on a shoestring. Most of the members of the band putting a lot of their own personal money into the band just to keep it afloat. It's economically very, very difficult to keep a band going. And if you want to ask for a little bit more money at a club, the pay at the clubs stinks. The hardcore bands and the new music bands are not getting anything like a proper payment for what they do. You know, you got comedians doing gigs in strip joints that are making more money than most musicians. You know, and so if you want to ask for a little bit more money in order to cover yourself or pay for gasoline or whatever, then you're selling out. It's like really a bogus notion. I think the people are very politically conscious in this type of scene. On one level, but on another, in terms of philosophy, but in terms of like how to function in the world, they're very naive. You know, they make a lot of generalizations, and with the usual fervor of youth, they're very loud about it, and they don't really think about what they're saying. You know, we're not going to change. I mean, Stefan can't. You can't change what you do. You can't do it because then if this man's never written a love song in his life, and if somebody came to Stefan and said, "I need 42 love songs, here's a 3-year contract," he couldn't do it. We couldn't do it.
But that at the same time doesn't mean that if a love song comes to him that he's not going to write it, because some punks might say it's too soft. Because that's lacking as well.
I've written love songs, just love of general humanity, a love of people who actually give a damn or try. Than a particular the women that I care about is my business. You know, I make jokes about it, sure, but
That's for sure.
You know.
You know, the point is, you can't function as a strictly commercial venture. You can't. I mean, you won't be able to function as an artist. You always have to do. People won't like it. I mean, what a good artist does is he reaches or she reaches down inside and reaches the most honest, most vulnerable place they possibly can and gives it forth. And if the artist is successful, it's because people realize that that's what's going on at some level, you know. So as long as you're being like totally honest, I don't care, you know. I don't care commercially what's involved. I don't care. I'm with the band as long as I can possibly do it. As long as I have something to eat, I'm in, you know. And we're all like that, you know. And so there's never any question of selling out. I mean, that phrase basically hasn't been as far as I can tell.
You want to start with this club? Gee, we got 3 mil and we got things that song. I'm sorry.
We're like,
you know,
for joy.
we were actually, you know, we got a little comfort in the dressing room.
Yeah.
Excuse us, you know.
No problem, because you're going to get that the same thing from us, but we are not commercial.
Yeah.
But that's not the point.
Okay, next question.
Next question. What was it?
What's your word say on that one?
One question I want to ask. How long are your fingernails, Steve?
And as long as my obsession has taken me.
How long did you save for that?
Oh, you don't want the esoteric answer, you want the, let's see, they're half as long as something else. No, they're, let's see, well, we want,
Forget the interview, let's go.
yeah, they're about 5 inches long.
What interview?
Which countries are you going to in this tour? The first European tour.
Holland, England, Germany, Belgium, no, Switzerland's not, sorry, Denmark,
Poland.
Norway, Sweden. Help me on this,
Poland,
guys.
Italy, that's it.
Poland, Italy.
What do you expect of Poland?
What do we expect of
Nice
Poland?
people.
You
Got
got
a
contacts
bureaucratic
there?
castle. Bureaucratic castle with nice people is what we expect. Stephen's been there before. And we've already started dealing with the visas and all that stuff, and it's been really a hassle. But everything we've heard about the people is excited.
My friend is a friend of mine back in the States. His name is Taruki. That's no first name, don't worry. His name, and he went to visit family there. And he said his family was so poor. They had nothing in their house. Yet they wanted to give him furniture. You like this picture? Family, you can take it. It's off the wall. You know, like you pull the nails off the wall. That is kind of a thing. I mean, you do not judge a people by its government. The same goes for Americans, okay?
Yeah.
And the thing is that these Polish people, by their guts, by their solidarity, the real solidarity, not the straight edge solidarity, has stood up to the point where they're actually, by their own bootstrap will, they've been able to bring a couple of bands in. And the guy says, don't expect much, maybe 100 people in a small room, we said, but those 100 people really want and need to be there, as opposed to like they're going out to the social scene. You know, and we're going to feel that 100 people is going to be 100 real hearts in the world for the first time. As far as this year, anything you want to show us or tell us, or just remember, please don't feel like you cannot talk to us. Even if your English is lousy, our Flemish is even worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know. So what I want to say, there are no boundaries between us and you. But bring your real self. If you know, I mean what I mean is, like, if you're drunk out of your mind, I can't take that no matter where, you know, but if you're going to bring your true self and want to ask a bunch of questions or tell us something about yourself, I'd be more than willing to just sit there and shut up and listen, you know, so that's...
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. Also, we'll be playing live with Victim's Family.
Oh, good
and,
band.
Snuff from England, and a Belgian band, the Dirty Scums,
Great.
who was nearly as old as your band.
But you see, you were asking us how old we are, and I started the band in, like I said, May of 1980. But it's been one constant evolution every so often.
Yeah, I've only been in the
years.
band for like 3 years or 3.5.
Yeah, people have been changing, so I'm the only original member.
You're the only one.
If you can think of it in terms of sort of like a poet who has the most luckiest situation to have great musicians willing to put up and orchestrate, you know, the infatuations and obsessions inside himself, and then you know what this band is about. The band is more, it's an ideology more than a band. And with each new person that comes into the band, that ideology changes and recreates itself. It's going through constant metamorphosis all the time. You know, so I can't help it. Any poet out there, man, you couldn't believe how excited it is to have your words amplified and orchestrated and loved and worked like one big lump of clay, and everybody's fine hands are like trying to mold it to the most beautiful vessel it could possibly be.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the interview.
Thank you. We'll see ya.
And we'll see you in Belgium.